Your e-commerce store won't do well in organic search if it's missing one of the key elements that really matter for e-commerce SEO. And I know this because I've helped many businesses grow their organic revenue by hundreds of thousands of dollars in the past year alone. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through a simple but in-depth over-the-shoulder video where you're going to be able to see where your organic store is leaking all this organic revenue. And by the end of it, you'll know what's wrong, what to fix first, and how to fix it. To do the audit, I picked a random website from the internet. So what I did was Google a random fashion keyword, went to page 2 or 3, found a ranking website, opened it, and this is what I got. It's a brand called Cuba Vera. They seem to sell sort of shirts, some pants, and what it seems even some wedding stuff. But a pretty normal store from that point of view, from their product range. It's a fashion brand. They sell for men and women. So hopefully they're going to be a good example. Now, what I always like to do first is I want to check the most important things that matter when you're doing this audit. So we're going to check the navigation, then we're going to check the home page in general, then we're going to check our collection page, our product page, the footer, and then the robot 60. And that sort of gives us like a pretty good overview of at least one page template for all of the pages that really matter, and things like robots that matters. So we can have a pretty good overview of the website and figure out the stuff that really moves the needle that they can fix. So let's start with the navigation. And what I want to see here is I want to see a complete navigation that helps users and search engines find pretty quickly the most important categories. Now, at this point, I haven't spoken to them, right? Because I don't know this brand, and I still haven't navigated the website a lot to sort of know and understand what are their most important categories. But I'm assuming it's shirts because they've got these guayaberas here and other types of shirts, some bottoms, some sweaters. So I'm assuming this is what's most important to them because it's what they've got on the homepage. They seem to have like special sizes, big and tall. And then an additional thing that maybe was something they came up recently, but not when they launched this, also not the core product range, is the wedding stuff. That's further down the page. But this seems to be the core of what the website is about. And on the homepage, I can only see men. I'm not seeing any women's stuff. So I'm assuming men is more important. So when I look at navigation, bestsellers first, great thing to have there. What's new? It's sort of helpful to have a new collection page. So people that know the brand and are coming, over time and are repeat customers, they can find what's new. So I kind of like that. Then I obviously want to see the most important product range, which is the men's product range. And they have many options. So they have bestsellers, then linen, wedding, vacation, tops, which I'm assuming, shop all, casual, way better. So they've done some breakdown of their product range. It's not extensive, but it seems to be good enough for a user to start navigation. So let's say I'm someone looking for a polo shirt. I come to men. It's pretty obvious. This is the top section. Polo shirts are here. I can sort of find that pretty quickly. So I think this navigation is helpful for the user to find things. They've also got this special product range, big and tall, which they have their pages here. Then they have the women's range, specific, organized, like if I know right away that this is the type of shirt that I want, I can find very quickly maybe what I'm looking for, so I don't have to dig around through here and find it another way. I really like this in the sense that people that have different mindsets and that are looking from different points of view for the same products can find them quite easily. So you can shop by material, by a type of shirt, where it's this one, or big or tall, or by men and women's. So they give you plenty of options. So a very complete menu, and from that point of view, it seems helpful for the user. From a technical point of view, what I want to know is if all of these links are available to Google without the need of having to use JavaScript. That's super important to figure out. So I'm going to get what I'm assuming is one of the most important pages, which is this one, the shop all tops, or the Guayaberas one, but let's do this one, doesn't really matter. I'm going to copy the link address, and I'm going to use a very handy Chrome extension called View Rendered Source. So I'm going to open this, and I'm going to have to expand this because this works funny when you have it sort of collapsed a little bit. And what this thing does, it shows you the raw HTML. So this is everything that comes directly from the server, and you can compare it to the rendered HTML. That is what comes from the server, and additionally all the modifications made by JavaScript, so what required JavaScript to change, and then it shows you the difference. So what I want to see is I want to find the links like the one that I chose from navigation in the raw HTML and not only in the rendered HTML, because that would mean it absolutely requires JavaScript for it to show up, and I want it to be available without the need of JavaScript. So let's go here. I'm going to copy and paste this thing here, and as you see, the first instance that shows up very clearly here as the full URL, and says mobile nav. So this already tells me that the navigation is in the raw HTML and this link was found there. Then if you just look at these ones, these are all the other ones. So from that point of view, it's pretty good to know that probably all the navigation links are here. Now, sometimes when you copy and paste the full URL, like with HTTPS, www and all that, it doesn't show up here because some websites code it as relative URLs, which only means like the domain name and everything that comes before it sort of doesn't show up. So you might want to search just for collections/men, so everything that comes after the domain name. That's just a quick tip in case you do the search and nothing shows up. Sometimes it's because of that, because some websites use relative URLs and not absolute URLs. But in this case, we can see this in the raw HTML, and funnily enough, if you keep on going with the instances, we would also see it in the rendered, obviously. But cool, so we've checked pretty quickly a really important thing, which is Google can see the navigation without requiring JavaScript rendering, which is really, really good. For the sake of this, I'm just checking one link. If one link is there, probably all of them are. Technically, you would check a couple more, but usually just because of things are coded usually the same way. If that's the case, it should apply. So I'm just going to go here and say that navigation links load in the raw HTML. And if they load in the raw HTML, they usually always load in the rendered HTML. Now, to be precise though, let's check again, because sometimes JavaScript modifies things in such a way that it eliminates things from the raw HTML. So we can, just to make sure, we're going to quickly check. We've got it in the raw. We've also got it in the rendered. So that way I'm not making it up. I'm not assuming things, and we've actually made the job of checking. So we can check both of those. The next thing that I want to look at is if the navigation links go to canonical URLs and how they are implemented. So we always want to internal link to the version of the page that we want Google to rank. That is the pages that, the way to signal to Google that we want to rank that page is when it has a self-referential canonical. So what I want to do is I want to open a couple of these most important ones, let's say. Let's do a big and tall because those seem to be important. And I just want to check that all of these have a self-referential canonical. So I'm going to go to this page, and I'm going to use a very helpful, again, Chrome extension called Robots Exclusion Checker, developed by Sam Gibson. Great tool. I can see very quickly if it's allowed to be crawled, if it's allowed to be indexed, if what the X robot status, and I can also see the canonical URL. And in this case, it says self-referential, which means the canonical tag is the same as the URL I'm visiting. This is exactly what I want to see. So that's why this thing is all green. When something is wrong, this thing is yellow or red. So I can see very quickly at a glance that this one is a self-referential canonical page. Same as this one, also green with self-referential canonical. And then this one, also green with self-referential canonical. So again, you can keep on checking, but for the sake of making this video slightly shorter, I'm just going to do it one check for everything. So navigation links do go to canonical URLs, and I want to know how they are implemented. So let's go quickly again to this one, and we're going to right click, inspect to see the code. And this looks quite small. Let's see if I can actually make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so I've just expanded this a little bit. And what you want to see here is you want to see the link, in this case, this one that is here. You want to see it within an A tag. And then immediately after it, you want to see href. So you can have an A tag, then other stuff, but then eventually need to have href equals and then the link. If it's within an A tag like this, it means it's done properly. It's a link that Google can follow, because Google follows links within A tags. If it's something within a button, or if it's something between sort of anything else that isn't an A tag and it's clean and then an href link, it means that it requires user interaction for it to be triggered. And that means like someone has to actually manually click on it. And Google doesn't follow that. Google only follows these. So if you have any doubts, ChatGPT is really good at this. You can provide it this piece of code and ask it if Google can find it right away, if this is a tag that search engines can crawl, or if it requires user interaction. And it's usually pretty good at just telling you that. So we've just checked this, and it's great to see that they are coded properly as href tags. So we're going to put this as implemented. And then what we already did are the most important pages in navigations, the one you want ranked. It seems they are. Again, we don't know the priorities of the brand, but if they're consistent with what they show on the homepage, they have done that. And are the most important pages featured first? It seems they are, because the men categories with these tops is pretty front of everything. It's normal for bestsellers and new stuff to be there. Maybe this new one could be a little bit simplified because it's got too many options, but yeah, I would say it's checked it as implemented. It's not like these most important categories are like one of the last options down here. So we'll just say implemented for that. And then other considerations, you always want to check if the navigation has links to other websites. So you want to avoid on navigation to link out to a different domain that is not the website you are on. But in this case, if I just check here, it doesn't seem that these links are going anywhere else. So I can check that as implemented. And if you happen to find something like this, you just want to make sure that you really, really need that there. You don't want to have it it has to be very intentional, because you sort of want to avoid it. Okay, we've checked the navigation. Let's go to the homepage checks in general. So the first thing that I want to see is, I want to see if what's going on with that. What headings do they have? And all that. So just quickly, we're going to use SEO in one click. This is another Chrome extension. I see they have a title tag. They've got the brand name followed by the types of products they sell. Sort of okay. A bit of a mess in the sense that there's just lots of different things here, but okay, I can take it. They're missing a meta description, nothing terrible, but I would add something like we sell this type of thing, sort of describe what the website sells. It takes a very small amount of time to do, so why not do it? And then, I want to see the headings that they have here. And it says no heading has been found. So that's already a bit of a red flag. Kind of weird to have a page without a single heading to sort of define the structure and the hierarchy of that page, of the content within it. So that's the first thing that I'm seeing here, and it's a little bit weird. So it probably means that, for example, this text here, featured categories, it isn't a heading. It's sort of just normal text. We can quickly see that if we do right-click, inspect. And yeah, we see the text is featured categories within a span tag, within a div tag really. And yeah, it doesn't say within this div tag, or in any way, it doesn't say H2, H3 or something like that, which is how you define heading. So the Chrome extension seems to be working correctly, and that these things aren't headings at all. So that's something that I would note down, and it's probably somewhere here where we'll sort of check that there's basically no headings. But let's go with the checklist. So SEO meta title is in the raw HTML. So I am going to expand, oops, not that. I want to expand this one because I'm going to go view rendered source. And I want to have my 3 columns here so this thing works properly. I'm going to search for title. And this is the title tag, as you can see here, title. It's the same thing we saw with SEO in one click, and it's in the raw HTML. So what I want to copy this here and make sure it's also in the rendered HTML, the second instance, so I can check that these two have been implemented. Then I want to see if the meta description is here, and I can quickly see here that the meta description in the rendered HTML is here. Shop our men's apparel collection for warrior shirts, men's linen pants, blah, blah, blah. Look good, feel good. Cool. Now, I'm just going to copy a section of this, and I want to know if this is in the raw HTML. So yeah, it is. It is in the raw HTML. For some reason, our Chrome extension didn't pick it up, and that's why it's important to do these sort of manual checks. So we can sort of say that this is implemented on both. Now we want to find the canonical tag. So we want to go all the way up and do canonical. And we see that the canonical tag is in the raw HTML. Probably going to find another one here in the rendered HTML, so we can see both of those. And we also want to double check that with sort of a nice Chrome extension, this one, robots exclusion checker. We've got a self-referential canonical tag here on the home page, so that's exactly what I want to see. If that's picking it up, it means we're probably in a good place. But we checked it's also in the raw HTML, so that's pretty good. And then we want to check that all these meta tags are in the head, both in the raw HTML and rendered HTML. So what we want to do for that is we're going to go all the way to the first instance of the canonical tag. And we can see we're in the raw HTML. This is the head element, and this is where the canonical tag is. This is where the title tag is. This is where the meta description is. And the head ends below this point. So we can sort of search for when it ends. Whoops. Oh, damn it. There it is. It ends down here. So all the other stuff was all the way here to the top. So it's within the head. And I'm going to assume it's going to be in the rendered HTML too, because that's how it's been so far. Now let's check the page title, the H1. I think we don't have an H1 actually on the page. So for that you do H1 like that. H1 class site header logo. Alright, so this is when they make sort of the logo, the H1 of the page, instead of having an actual element on the page. So from that point of view, when you have sort of a weird thing like that, when the logo is coded as the H1, let's do inspect. Yeah, H1 class site header logo. Yeah, pretty of a weird thing. I sort of prefer to having an actual text-based H1 somewhere. So yeah, from that point of view, I would sort of flag this as not implemented. And you can make a comment like H1 is the logo. Something you want to try to address. Then let's go to the next thing. Important headings on the page in the raw HTML. Well, there were no headings. So this is not implemented. Doesn't matter if it's in the raw or the rendered HTML. we can say here no headings. So no headings on the home page. Then important internal links on the page in the raw HTML. So what we're doing here is, for example, if it's really important to link to these pages, what we want to do here is we want to copy that link address. We want to open the rendered source again, find that link, and in this case we don't want to find the one on navigation, we want to find the one on the page that had the text shop guayaberas. So what we're going to do is we're going to just scroll ahead, get out of the mobile navigation, and well, maybe it's easier if we search for shop so there it is. Yeah, so in the raw HTML, shop guayaberas, that's the link. It's in the raw HTML. Let's see if we can find it. It's also in the rendered HTML, so that's fine. So links to important pages are on both. And you would check different links on that homepage to see if this is happening. Again, we'll just do it for some, because if not, this video is going to be very, very long. Important text on the page is in the raw HTML. The homepage doesn't have any text really, so, and we've already found that this text is there as text, not as a heading. The anchor text, we found it because that's what we just checked. So we've checked all the text on the page really, but if there was some content, written content that was super important, we would want to check if that's showing up. So in this case, it sort of doesn't apply. I'm just not going to check it. Content within accordions or drop downs, what's happening with that? We don't have accordions or drop downs, so not going to check that. And the way that you would do it is you would copy a part of the text that's within a drop down or an accordion, and then you would search, as I've done before, the raw HTML to see if it is visible there. And that's how you sort of check it. And then footer text, and you want to see if this type of stuff is in the raw HTML or not. So for example, let's say this live chat support, so we got it in the raw and the rendered HTML. So cool, this is implemented. Now, as we're doing this, we've checked the JavaScript rendering from a code point of view, but what this is saying is we want to know if visually what happens. So to visually check what happens with JavaScript, what we want to do is, you can use this with Chrome settings and disable JavaScript that way. I'm sort of used to using this Chrome extension called Web Developer, where you can, in the disable section, just disable JavaScript very quickly, reload the page, and as you see, everything looks pretty much the same. So all the text is here, the images are here, nothing is sort of missing. Even the navigation works well. So from that point of view, JavaScript is not required at all for the homepage, which is really, really good. Quite like that. So then you remove it, refresh, and now you're done. So I would check that the important headings are not there because they don't exist, but the internal links are there. Important text, like this stuff, that's anything there. No accordions, the footer was visible. And does the homepage load the most important content visually? Yes, it does. So good performance from that point of view. Now let's check crawling and indexing. So for the homepage, we want to check if it's crawlable. To do that, again, the robots exclusion checker tells us right away it is allowed to be crawled by robots.txt, and we don't have a no index tag because it says allowed here. So it can be crawled by robots.txt, and it is indexable. Does it have a self-referential canonical? It does have a self-referential canonical. So from that point of view, these initial checks are perfect. And then do internal links go to canonical URLs? And the navigation links did. These ones, if you open them, just to open a couple. And let's go to a product. So this one self-referential canonical URL, no parameters in the URL. So yep, that classifies. Then this one, again, it has self-referential canonicals, no parameters in the URL. This one though, ooh. So when we clicked to big tall, this link isn't to a self-referential canonical. So this is something to check, and we can say, we can add it here as a comment, and we can say not implemented, because we found one that is not linking to a canonical URL. It should be linking to, like if it's the main big and tall shirt stuff, to this page here, that if you see this one doesn't have any parameters or something like that. Big and tall clothing. Yeah, so it should be going to the big and tall page, this one. So this one, you see, this is the self-referential page, the one that's called big slash tall, sorry, big hyphen tall. But the one that you had on the home page was basically linking to this page that's big hyphen tall, and then it's got a UTM parameter and things like that. So yeah, they've made a mistake there. And what this means is a link from an internal link from the home page carries a lot of authority. By not linking to the canonical version of that page, you're just wasting that. So it's a missed opportunity. And it's also sending mixed signals, because that other page, you're saying this is not the one I want to rank, but from the home page, you're linking to it, which is sort of a super signal, like we want to rank this thing. So you want to fix those inconsistencies. In the case of the product that we did, this is fine, self-referential canonical link, and the wedding page is also fine. So we see here how important it is to not just check one, but to check all of them manually, just because in this case, there was only one URL that I by chance was able to find that they need to fix. So they need to fix this one. And then we want to see if these internal links, again, are implemented as href tags. So again, to do that, you just go inspect, and you want to see the link within an A tag. So the link was in here, and it's within an A tag. So opens the A tag, and then href, and you've got the link there. So that means Google can see it as a link and crawl it and keep on discovering the website like that. So we'll say that this is implemented. Again, you would check for more stuff. Then let's go to the just normal best practices of the page. Does it have a meta title that describes the website? Yeah, it sort of did. The page has obvious headings. Well, visually it has them, so people know what they're looking at. It's not a problem for users, but it doesn't have headings, so like coded. So because it doesn't have them, I'll say no implemented, no headings. And this is a technical check, not just a visual check, you know. Page has H1 with the main keyword. No, it doesn't have an H1 with the main keyword. H1 is the first header of the page. There are no headings, so that point of view, no. H1 is the bigger visual element. There's no, it's sort of yes because it's the logo, but we're just going to say that it's not implemented, right? Page has H2s to define each section of the page. No, it doesn't. Keywords and variations in H2 are present. Now, these recommendations are a little bit trickier for the homepage, because the homepage is a slightly different page in that sense. When you're on a dedicated collection page, this is when this is way, way, way more important than specifically on the homepage. Although I don't want to diminish the fact that they don't have it here. It's a missed opportunity. Now, are the most important products linked to from the homepage, the best sellers and the most profitable? I don't know, because I don't know which ones they are. I'm assuming it's these ones, and it says best sellers. So I'll take the word for it and say it's implemented. I'm also going to assume these are the most profitable products. Are the most important collection pages linked from the homepage? It seems that's what they try to do. So we're going to say implemented. Are the most important brands linked from the homepage? So this is when you're a retailer and you sell different brands and not it's not like your own brand, all your products from your own brand. So it might not apply in this case. It seems everything they sell is their own brand. Is the brand hub page linked from the home page? So the page that includes all the brands you sell as a retailer? It seems it doesn't apply for this. And are blogs featured on the home page? Well, they're not. It doesn't seem to be obvious there's a blog section here in navigation. I can't see any links to a blog here. These seems to be linked to other brands, so other websites that they own. About Us, Careers Affiliate, California, contact. It doesn't seem they have a blog. At least it's not obvious to find here. So I would say that this doesn't apply. Interesting that they don't have a blog. And here we go. Internal links to products have descriptive anchor text. So we just want to make sure that, for example, this link, linen blend core drawstring pant, is the anchor text. So what I'm going to do is inspect that. Yep, it is. I want to check if the image is a separate link. So image and the alt tag that is there, alt equals linen blend. So the alt tag should be the name of the product. So cool. So from that point of view, it does. So internal links to products, they do have descriptive anchor text. Internal links to category pages have descriptive anchor text. Yes, we checked that before when we inspected to see if the links were href tags. The brand pages doesn't apply, and links in the footer have descriptive anchor text. Yes, they do, because it doesn't say like click here or weird stuff like that. Some websites have like order status as text, and then to actually go to that page, it says click here, and it's got loads of click here stuff. That's what this is referring to, but this is not the case. So we're going to say implement it. Does the homepage feature reviews? No, it doesn't. Does the homepage feature testimonials? Well, in this case, it would be more reviews. Testimonials sort of don't really apply too much for this type of website. But the reviews do, and they're not showing up here. And then, does the homepage feature images of real customers using the products? No, they don't. They don't have a user-generated section. It's just pictures from the brand. So we're going to say not implemented. So those are opportunities for improvement. Other considerations: do international users get a pop-up to switch to the currency or website? I see that you can switch here to different things, but I am currently in Australia as recording this video, and this is loaded as the United States in US dollars. So from that point of view, this is not telling me, hey, you're in Australia, do you want to switch to the Australia store where it has the price in Australian dollars? So this is not being done. Now, international might not be a strategy for them. They might not be doing something like that. So we're probably not going to check this, but something to flag there, that if this is something that they care selling internationally, they should have something for their users where they tell them, hey, you're maybe in the wrong store. Do you want to change the currency, or do you want to go to the correct store? Not sure what's going on there, but it's something that is important to check. Cool. Now let's go to collection pages and do our checks here. So because a lot of the stuff is the same thing, I'm not going to check it all over again because you already know how to check it. So you can check it on your own. So we're just going to go to our collection page like this one. 84 products. Okay. And we're going to check one of them. This is the one we're going to check. Is the navigation the same as the rest of the website? Yes, it didn't change because I changed the page. Some websites do that, so that's the same. We don't have to worry about that. Is the footer the same? Yes, it is the same. We don't have to worry about that. Then we do want to check very quickly what's going on with all of these things. Now, I've already told you how to check it in detail, so I'm just going to do a very quick check. I want to see headings. Do we have a title tag? Yes, we do. Do we see other headings on the page? It seems we don't. Let's check quickly if this content here, for example, is a heading. So inspect. It's an H3. I don't know why the tool is not working properly. Like maybe when you do it and you use the tool, it's going to be working because it usually always works. So pretty curious why it's not working. And what I'm going to do to double check this, because when the tool doesn't pick it up, it's sort of a funny situation. I want to just make sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use view rendered source. It's in the rendered HTML. Okay. It doesn't seem to be in the raw HTML. So that can be the reason why the tool isn't picking it up. Let's just load this again in case it did something strange. Well, let's do view page source, which is just the raw code. Yeah, so it is here as an H3. Pretty weird why it's not picking it up. So from that point of view, we've got some headings and it is appearing in the raw code. So that seems to be coded. Properly. Now you see the see more. Now I'm going to check if this content here, for example, this is in the raw HTML. So let's do view page source very quickly. There it is. So it seems that the content, whether in the read more or in just the normal text, is in the raw HTML. That probably means it's in the rendered HTML, obviously, because it would be stupid that it didn't. So that seems to be working fine. I want to see if this link, well, let's go section by section. So this was the H1 of the page. Yes, H1 of the page, men's casual shirts. So we have an H1. It describes the product range. Now, this is probably not maybe it's not the best keyword for this page. Maybe it is, but it's got a clear H1 that defines the product range of the page. It also has, it's the same as the title tag, which it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but it is basically the title tag and the H1 are aligned for the products that show on the page. That's sort of the most important thing. We've got headings in the content and the content is readable. Now these FAQs, I wonder if these drop downs are in the source code. So let's just look quickly here. Yes, they are. Pretty good. So this is coded properly. And all this content seems to be here. Now I wonder if I can find this link, copy link address. Are the links to the products there? New page source. Can't find that link, but maybe because it's in the relative link. So I'm just going to delete everything and find that. And there it is. So products, linen blend. So there it is. I found it. Now it doesn't matter that there's sort of a backslash there, because when Google checks this, it eliminates those things. So it doesn't matter. It's /products/linen blend. So it is there. So that's really good. I can see those. And it has the anchor text. So we've checked the products. The links are going to be able to be found by Google. What type of link is this? So let's go quickly and do, oops, can't see that, inspect. Yeah, it's a link within an A tag. So that's exactly what we want to see. So we've basically did a very quick check on the most important things. Now let's talk about pagination pages. We want Google to be able to follow the links to page 2, 3, and 4 so you can discover all the other products. For that to happen, these links, we have to ensure they are in the raw HTML and that they are within A tags that Google can actually follow. So we're going to check those two things. To do that, we're going to inspect this number 2 here. In this case, it's a button, go to page 2. And I don't see an A tag anywhere. So we've got a div, and within that div, we've got the button that has the number to that. So from that point of view, it's a problem because Google can't easily find page 2, 3, and 4 with all the other different products. That's a problem because if those products aren't on, that you don't have other pages on how Google's going to find them, then they might be unfindable or something like that. Now, I'm assuming they're going to be somewhere else, but imagine the case they aren't, then this is a problem and you need to change basically that thing to be the links, the pagination links to the different pages. They need to be in an A tag. They can't be a button or something that requires basically user interaction for them to pick up. Now, let's see here if the link is in the raw code. Probably it isn't, but what we're going to do is we're going to open this page and we're going to grab this here, this part of the URL, and we're going to go back to page 1 and we're going to view page source. And page source, now we're going to check for this. So fortunately, they do have the rel next, and probably if we check page 2, they're going to have the rel pref tag. So let's just open that one. So now we're on page 2. View page source. Again, we're going to search for this thing. Yeah, so usually when you're on a page 2, they would say that the next page, that we're rel next tag with page 3, and there we're rel pref tag with page 1. But they don't have that implemented. So their pagination is not properly implemented in two ways, in the sense that the rel next and rel pref tags aren't sort of coded properly. The links to these paginated pages aren't within an A tag as an href link. They're a button, so they require user interaction. And then, well, the other thing that we actually wanted to check on this one was we wanted to inspect this. We wanted to find, sorry, I forgot what we were doing. I wanted to find if it was coded, if it was available in the raw HTML. So it is in the rel next. Let's see if it's somewhere else. Pagination, yeah. So it is somewhere else. Page 3. Okay, that's good. So even though it is coded as a button, let me find what's going on here. Yeah, but it's within a section. So technically it's there. I think Google is actually going to follow these links because it's technically here in the source code. But it's not within. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange situation because we've got JavaScript here. Again, it seems like there's a way better implementation of this situation where these are just normal links that show up in the source code within A tags as href links, and that's what happens on all these pages. Now, when we go to one of these pages, well, let's check the pagination later. Let's just come back to our spreadsheet so we don't go crazy. I'll pause the video for a second and find where we are. Okay, so basically we've checked all of these very quickly, which is sort of similar things that what we did before. We didn't check the visual JavaScript, what happens with that, but we did check that the links to the products they were in the raw HTML. That's the most important thing because we want Google to find links to these things. The only problem we found was that it was going to struggle to find the paginated links. So it might not find all the products on pages 2, 3, and 4. But from that point of view, it looks pretty good. Now, let's quickly check the visual without JavaScript. Yeah, so if Google wants to see this page, have a screenshot of the rendered HTML, like when it's not executing JavaScript, that screenshot, and if it wants to understand visually what's going on, if an algorithm like that does that type of thing kicks in for some reason, it's not going to see any of this. But from a crawling point of view, it's going to find the links that are important, except the pagination ones. But yeah, so the most important content, like the headings load and the text load, but there's no loads of products. I wouldn't worry about this too much, just because we're making sure that all the links are really showing up, which is what we care about the most. So not a big deal. Let's do that. Refresh this. So just the products weren't showing up, but everything else was showing up. Now the page, the one we're on, it's crawlable, it's indexable, it's got a self-referential canonical URL. We've checked all the rest. Now, something that's extremely important on category pages is we do not want Google getting into these filters unless you're doing faceted navigation in a very intentional way. So what we want to check here is, let's go, where are we? So let's put some implemented here just so. So we're up to speed. Okay. We don't want Google interacting with these filters. So let's do this. When you have filters that you do not want Google getting into, like these ones, unless you're optimizing for them, you do not want those links to be href links. You want them to be buttons or something that require user interaction. So sort of the opposite of these ones. So let's first try to figure out what they are doing with their filters, and if they're doing something intentional with this thing. So we're on men's casual shirts. Let's go with fabric type and let's hit cotton blend. So what's happened is the URL changed. It now has parameters. It's got all these parameters at the end that indicate that the filter has been applied and products changed to 12. What I'm getting from this thing is that Google can't crawl this page because it's not being allowed to be crawled by robots.txt. At the same time, it is not the canonical version of the page, which means they are telling to Google, we do not want you to index this page with these parameters. We want you to index the page that has no filters applied. So from that point of view, they're not trying to rank for cotton men's casual shirts. They just have them here as an option for the users to sort of reduce the amount of products they're seeing, and they can find what they want quicker, but they're not targeting that page, they're not trying to rank for it. So we know that they are not intentionally using these filters as basically landing pages. Let's check another one that might be commonly used like this, like long sleeve and short sleeve. So just to double check what's going on. And maybe I want to go to this page again and do it again. So just for the sake that I'm knowing men's tops, that I'm on the right URL. Long sleeve. Yeah, okay. The situation is basically the same. This is a filtered URL. You can't crawl it, and it doesn't have a self-referential canonical. So this tells me that they are not trying to rank. They're not using faceted navigation, which is when you select one of these filters and an indexable URL shows up that you're optimizing for and you want to rank for that page. So these filters are just for the user so they can filter down the products, but they're not targeting all the different combinations of products that they have with these URLs that are being generated by the filters. That is fine. Like, there's not a problem with that. It's a missed opportunity if you don't create those pages. You don't have to do it by making indexable all of the stuff that comes with the filters, but What you would do, for example, is you would have a Cotton's casual shirts page that could be on navigation, and if it's not on navigation, it could be linked to from the content, you know, but they don't have that. So for example, here they're talking about cotton. They could say, go check out our cotton t-shirts page or something like that, but they haven't created them. So they are not trying to win that organically, at least in an intentional way. So maybe they think they are, but they're basically not. So a huge missed opportunity from this point of view, because when you understand that there are many combinations, imagine for all their product ranges, they could target long sleeve, short sleeve, linen, cotton, whatever other materials, colors, patterns, and things like that. They could create so many pages that could get organic traffic from people who are searching exactly for those type of products that they currently aren't doing, just because they don't have that strategy put in place. But now we understand that these filters are only for UX. They don't have an organic search purpose, which means if they are only for UX, we do not want Google getting into these. So let's inspect this and see what happens. So let's go here, inspect. And what I want to see here is a button. I don't want to see an href tag. So perfect. Button, and within the button is this thing. If it's a button, it means it requires user interaction, and Google isn't going to get into it. Meaning it's not going to discover this URL. And if it's not going to discover this URL, that's awesome. Even though they've sort of blocked the filtered URLs with Robot60 and stuff like that, sometimes that isn't enough. The best thing that you can do is avoid Google to find them in the first place. And the best way to do that is to put these things as a button or something that requires user interaction, anything that isn't an href link. So that's pretty cool. That is set up correctly. Now, that's set up correctly. That doesn't mean that this brand isn't missing on a ton of opportunity to win so many more searches for their product range, just because they haven't built pages dedicated to target those. So that's a separate thing. That's probably a bigger issue than what we've just found here that is correctly implemented. And just to drive this point home, the solution isn't to get the filtered pages indexed. The solution is to create all those other pages and optimize them so they can rank for those given keywords. The same thing that happens with this, we want to check these sorting filters, because they have no value for organic search. They're purely for users, and we just want to make sure that Google can't get into it. So just going to bestsellers, I want to see what it's doing here. It's allowed to be crawled. I would disallow it. There's no point in that. And it's fine that it doesn't have, it's sort of okay that the canonical URL is different. No problem with that. Although technically it is the same content on the page, just reorganized. But I don't mind about that. But what I would think is more appropriate is that this should be not allowed. Now, can Google click here and go and check this thing? Probably not. So if we inspect this, it's a button. Yeah, Google shouldn't be getting in there, shouldn't be finding that URL. The problem with just relying on things being within a button is this URL still exists and someone can link to it, someone can do strange things. Google can still start discovering these stuff. And from that point of view, sometimes it's better to just block them overall. But at least it's not easy for Google to find, and it's not going to waste crawl budget and spend just loads of time in there. So they do require user interaction, and they're not href tags. That's exactly what you want. Now, the benefit of how they've set it up is Google will not be able to find them on their own. But if someone creates a backlink to this URL, Google is still going to be able to process it, because it can crawl the page and it's got a canonical tag to the page that they want the authority to go to. So that setup is okay. It's sort of maybe the best of both worlds. Okay, so let's check. Website goes back to original category URL when clicking to a subcategory or brand URL. So in this case, we don't have that set up. So let's do So let's say we had men's tops and there was a subcategory, like, okay, Guayabera, this could technically be a subcategory. If we hit back, it goes back to the correct page. Sometimes that doesn't work well. And what you would really check in this case is if there are breadcrumbs, you would want to see the Guayaberas as the following breadcrumb within the men's tops page. But breadcrumbs aren't implemented. And we can't check if that link goes back or not and if it's properly implemented or not. So the breadcrumbs is probably somewhere else. Yeah, here we are. So I'm just going to leave that here because this doesn't apply. Filter parameters are removed when unchecking the filter option. So let's quickly do cotton blend. And let's say we clear it. Yes, the URL updates. So that's fine. This one, sometimes when they have brands here or some filters that you click, like let's say you do that and then you press backwards, it doesn't go back to the original URL. So this is actually implemented properly. Sometimes it doesn't work. If filtered URLs with parameter exists, they are canonicalized. Yes, they are canonicalized. That's what we checked. And the sorting ones are also canonicalized. So that's exactly what we checked before. If unique filtered URLs with parameters exist, they are blocked by Robot6T. Yes, these ones are blocked. And these ones aren't, because we saw that when you have like this one, like the cotton blend one, well, maybe that has too many words, but let's say it's men's classic or size. Sorry, let's just do size here. The size URL, so when one filter is applied, it does have a canonical tag back to this one. And that is probably the best case, just because if there is a backlink pointed to that thing, you want that authority to pass somewhere else. So from that point of view, I'm good with that. What we were checking though is it's allowed to crawl. It's allowed to crawl, so it's not implemented. This is actually wrong here. We want to say here, okay to be crawled if there is a backlink. There you go. Pagination is implemented with href tags and are follow. So again, we saw that pagination wasn't implemented like that. Pagination of page 1 is canonicalized, so this is probably not going to be okay, but when we go to page 2, sorry, let's go again, page 2. If we click page 1, this seems to be working, because what happens, like when you do page 2, let's say change this to page 1. Page 1 has the same amount of products than the URL that doesn't say page 1. And it should be canonicalized. Yeah, page 1 should be canonicalized to this one. Now, page 2, so that is correct. Page 1 is canonicalized to the non-paginated version. All the other ones, for example, page 2 should have a self-referential canonical and not be canonicalized to the initial one. So that's not correct. That's wrong. Paginated pages could have a no index tag, or they could be like that. So this doesn't matter. So we're going to say it doesn't matter. It's a different setup, and you just want to make sure what's going on there. Are the rel next and rel prev tags implemented? We saw that it wasn't consistent. So there was a rel next tag for page 2, but there wasn't for all the other pages. So this is not implemented properly. Infinite scroll isn't enabled, which is a good thing. It's way better to have properly implemented pagination, that infinite scroll. That's way more difficult. Let's do best practices. So are breadcrumbs implemented? We saw that they are not. Are the products with the most reviews the first one to be featured? I don't see reviews anywhere, so that's not implemented. Are the best-selling products or the most profitable products the first ones to be featured? I wouldn't know. It doesn't seem so. It seems we've got some with discounts and stuff like that first, but probably not implemented. Let's check this page. Let's check casual shirts. I don't see reviews or anything like that there. So no. Let's see if this actually has a review, because maybe it has and maybe it's just not showing up there. No. Oh yeah, look, it's got 182 reviews. So it sells a lot and they're not showing it here anywhere. That's crazy missed opportunity. For some reason, it seems that when you front load the products with the products that have the most amount of reviews, those pages tend to do better all the time. Like, I don't have a proper way to explain it. I don't know if it's a user behavior thing and you're getting the nav boost sort of situation of good user metrics, or if it's something from the code. But when you front load and when you put at the top of the page the products with the most amount of reviews, those collection pages tend to work better than when you put them further down the page. It's a very weird thing, but something that I've noticed. So that's why I sort of have it as part of my checklist. And you've got hundreds of reviews on some of these products and you're not even using it here. So that it's just such a missed opportunity in credibility and in this other thing that I found through experience. So that's a big deal. Are links to products in the main content? Yes, well, they're here. What I mean by in the main content is when you open the source code, there's a section of the code that's the head where you've got all the canonical tags and things like all the meta tags, and then all the rest is usually the main content, what comes after the breadcrumbs that don't have here. So in this case, they are. Are links to products href tags? We've checked that. Do product links have descriptive anchor text like the product name? Yes, we've checked that. The category page is a clear main keyword and is not a conjoined category. Yes, men's casual shirts, pretty clear. The main keyword is included in the SEO title. Yes, it is. It's up there. Keyword variations are included in the SEO title. No, they're not. So this is, again, men's casual shirts has synonyms and variations, and you can put something more in this title than just one thing. So it's sort of a missed opportunity that you're not doing that. That's why it's in the checklist. Does the page have a clear page title above the products implemented as an H1 tag? Yes, this one. This is the H1 tag. So we're sort of checking things that we already did the quick checks before. Keywords in H1 are present and accurate. Yes, they are. Does the page have a short description above the products to explain what the page is about? No, they're missing that opportunity. Does the page, so it's usually 100 character, 70 character short description here that includes the keyword and sort of reinforces what the page is about. Does the page have a clear H2 below the products that includes the target keyword or variation? So below the products, we're talking about the content of the page. And this one is an H3, it's not an H2. Google is going to sort of treat it as an H2, but that's probably won't have it as an H2 really. But it doesn't have a synonym or a variation of the main target keyword of the page that's men's casual shirts. It's got elevated casual style for every occasion. So it's not reinforcing this thing. So we're going to say no. Keywords in H2 are present and variation, we're going to say no. Even if this was an H2, that's not the case, right? Does the page have content below the products? Yes, it does. So it's got this content here. If there is content, is the content keyword, entity, and attribute rich? It is, and it says that it talks about the materials they sell and a little bit of information about that. It talks about fit and care instructions. Now it has here like these freaking ask questions, what sizes and things like that. So this is important information. They're missing sort of shopping conditions. They don't mention anything about shipping. They don't mention anything about that type of stuff, like conditions of buying on this website, this is ultimately our commercial page, but it does have that. So I'll give it as implemented. Now, having content here, this and this, doesn't mean this content is properly optimized, that it has the entity density, the keyword density, and the diversity that it requires for it to be a stronger signal for the page to do better. That's a different subject. We're just checking very quickly if it has something here, which usually makes it perform better. So then if sub-collections exist, are there internal links from the parent category implemented as href tags? So what this means is, let's say I have shop all tops for men's tops, the most top level keyword that you can imagine for this type of thing. And we have links here to other pages. Is this, like, do we have links to all the other pages? So do we have links to the casual, the Guayaberas, the polos and sweaters? We have to, whoops, sorry about that. We have links to the Guayaberas. We have links to, this is the casual shirts that here they put them button downs. I don't know why you would change the name. The polos. We don't have to the sweaters. So that's one missing. And then we would want to check if it's an href link. So for that, we'll inspect it. There it is within an A tag. So that's cool. All good with that. So we can say implemented, but missing some, in the sense that in this case we're missing the sweaters. I'm pretty sure that if we check all of these, they might be missing some, or maybe they don't even have them at all. So just as a quick example, for example, the men tops page doesn't link to the big ones, or if we go to women's, just because big ones, they're just different sizes, but you would think that it's a relevant internal link to put there. Women's doesn't have content at all. So even though, again, we're doing this for one page, you actually have to check all the important collection pages on the website and see what's going on with that. Okay, let's move on forward. Let's look at a subcategory or a sub-collection page, which a sub-collection page in Shopify, you're not going to see it as a different URL structure. It just means that it's like a subset of products. So the top collection is men's shirts, and a subset of products are the men's Guayaberas. You know, that you would treat this as a sub-collection page. So are breadcrumbs implemented in the sense that you would see home, then men's shirts, then men's Guayaberas? No, we don't have that at all. So not implemented. And then you would go the same checks that we just did for the top level collection page. You want this to happen for the sub collection level page. So basically all collections should be following these same checks. We're not going to check them now, but that's something that you would do. So yeah, that's basically a thing. Again, now let's go to product pages now that we've seen collection pages. So product pages, let's go maybe men's, shop all. Let's check where is a product that has lots of reviews. So that should be the best product they have. This one. Travel Select. This was the one? Yeah, with like 182 reviews. Yep, cool. So, again, we would do the same things. Does it have an SEO title? Does it have a heading? Is this thing up here the H1? So we would inspect this. Yes, it is the H1. Does it have the product name in the H1? Yes, it is. So we would do all the checks that we did. Is all this content, is the product description, the important content on the page showing in the raw HTML? We want it to not require JavaScript. All of those things are what you would check. The same things for product pages apply. Now, because we've already done that and we don't want to waste time on that, let's just do the best practices. So, are breadcrumbs implemented? No. There is no way to have, there's no hierarchy in this website for the product's point of view. So, let's just do not implemented. The main keyword is included in the SEO title. Yes, the product name is. Does the page have a clear H1? Yes. They're present and accurate. Are keywords in the H1 present and accurate? Yes. Does the product have a unique product description? That is something that we would have to check, in the sense that, is this product description unique to this page, or is it the same as any other product? So if we open, we would have to open another product on that collection page. So this one, for example. So this one says, enjoy the ultimate in crisp, cool comfort, men's short sleeves crafted from 100% linen, blah, blah, blah. Let's check this one. Yeah, they seem to be unique. Now, you would check this properly at scale through the website, but doing a quick check, it seems to be unique. For the sake of this video, we'll keep it at that. Is the unique selling proposition of the product mentioned in the product description? So this is quite cool here. Highly rated by customers for fit, looks, and material. Ooh. So this shows you, that's interesting. It uploads the reviews of different things. That's really interesting. I quite like that. Shipping conditions here. Love that. Size. Yep, size chart. The most important things, right, for fashion stuff. It says the material. It says it's breathable, comfortable, plain weave, fabric, durable, wrinkle resistant. Yeah, the highlights of the shirt, the technical highlights of the shirt and the benefits of it are in the product description, which is what you want. So the unique selling proposition of this shirt is there. Unique attributes and features are there. Does the page have a clear H2 that includes the target keyword or variation? Probably not, but it's not uncommon for product pages to not have that. But maybe here in the product description can be an H2. Maybe there can be an H2 that separates here, like has the product name and then the materials or something like that. There's a way. There's just maybe a missed opportunity. Now, it's not always applicable to all products, but it's something you want to double check. It's not implemented. Are reviews displayed on the page? Yes, they are. Are recommended products recommended? Yes, they are. And here, double check again. These links from recommended products should go to self-referential canonical tags, so not to parameter with URLs with parameters. Sorry. And in this case, we can check that is the case. So that's cool. We can say this is implemented. And then, are there sufficient high quality images? There seems there's plenty. So from the front, from the back, you can see how it falls, right? You can see the details of how the fabric is. Full view. Different colors. Yeah, so there's plenty of images. Like, you get a really good idea on the shirt. So from that point of view, that's all fine. Okay, we did a quick check on product pages. Now, there's more things that you can do from a conversion point of view and to help the user on a product page, like this stuff that they did here. That's I really, really like it. Sort of a way to filter the reviews. But we're not going into that now. We're just looking at the fundamentals for the best SEO performance that you really, really need to have. Now, the next thing that we're going to do, let's check the robots.txt. So we've checked so far home pages, we've checked the navigation, we've checked collection pages, we've checked product pages. Now, what we want to do is we want to check the robots.txt. I don't know why I opened it somewhere else. Let's make it there. Maybe make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. Here we go. So, do we have a robots.txt file? Yes, we do. Is it on the correct URL? The correct URL is domain name and then / robots.txt. So yes, we do. Then does it return a 200 status code? So to do that, you can just Google like status code online checker and just go here and just check the status of this. Should be alright. 200 status, so it basically loads, and if you're looking at it, it means it loads. So that should be fine. Is the sitemap included? Shopify is really good at this. This is a Shopify store, so it has that already there. We can check it just in case this is the correct one. So here we go. Let's check the collection pages to see if these show up or not. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so that seems to be there. Google can find this stuff through the sitemap. Are there no conflicting user agent instructions? Well, as we've been doing all the other checks, we've sort of been doing that, so we'll do that as implemented. The important pages that we saw, they weren't disallowed. The things like pagination that we want crawled were fine. Like it was allowed to be crawled. The internal pages like the cart, account, and all that, Shopify takes care of blocking those, so that's fine. Internal search URLs are blocked by robots.txt. Good question. Let's check that. So let's go to the website and let's do an internal search. Okay, blue search. So we search blue shirts through internal search. This is disallowed, so that's good in the sense that we don't want Google getting into search your URL results. So that's implemented. Then it's really big. Let's go at one of our collection pages. I feel that this section we've already did, like stored URLs, are they blocked by robots.txt? Are they blocked by filtered URLs blocked by robots.txt? In the sense like they were allowed. It's good if people have backlinks to them so that you have some of that authority. But you know, if really if you have so many of them and you want to, the dangers of Google find them are worse, like they can be blocked. That it's a bit of a depends on your case situation which one is best. Really, you can see arguments for both sides. CSS files are allowed to be crawled by robots.txt, so you just want to see here and see you don't have any. You want to check here and see everything that's here and see that JavaScript can be called and CSS can be crawled. But I don't find anything related to that here, so that's good. And then we would need to have Search Console access to sort of verify some of these things and check some other things, which we can't. So we're going to have to skip that for this thing because we don't have access to that. Okay, finally, let's go to the footer. So does the footer include a contact phone? Is there a contact phone somewhere here? It doesn't, but it's got live chat. So I'll take that. Now let's go to contact support and see if something exists. Oh, they're using this gorgeous thing, which is terrible. Yeah, okay. So it's helpful to have a phone number somewhere so people can call you up easily, and having it in the footer is something you can do. I prefer to have that all the time. So not implemented. Does it have a contact address? No, it doesn't. Now, this can be a headquarters address. It doesn't mean that people are going to show up here or anything like that. But it sort of defines the entity. Hey, like this is a brand. This is the contact number. This is the address. This is the name of the thing. And you have like, you're sort of defining who you are and you have it on the footer. So that's not done. Does it have a contact email? No, it doesn't. All of these things help people have the impression, and it also helps Google have the impression that you are a legitimate business, and it's very clear where you're located and who's behind it and all of that, and you can cross-reference it across other documents of your own and across the web and see if it matches and all that. So it's a little bit about this showing consistency with the brand. Now, websites can rank pretty well without them, but it sort of depends in the case on how much trust you have already because you're an actual brand and people search for you by name and things like that. As if you're starting out, nobody knows you, that's when those other things are maybe more important. Having said that, no matter the size, I always prefer those things to be there than for them to not be around anyway. It doesn't mean, again, having an address or a phone number. Like having an address doesn't mean people are going to show up to the headquarters or something like that. You can actually put headquarters and that's it. Is there an About Us page here? Yes, there is, and it's linked. There is a Contact Us page and a way to get in touch with the brand. There is a shipping policy there. So implemented. Is there a links to returns page? Yes, there is. Is the link to a terms and conditions page? Yes, there is. Is there a privacy policy? Yeah. Can you track your order status? I'm assuming that's what it is. Sign into yours. Okay. There's some way to do it, right? Does the footer link to the blog page? Well, it doesn't seem that they have a blog. So from that point of view, it's not implemented, but it sort of doesn't apply. So we'll leave it as it is. Does the footer link to a sitemap page? Now, this is not the sitemap that we were checking before. This would be an HTML sitemap, which is basically a page on the website that links all the important pages in one place. They don't seem to have that here. It's not absolutely required, but it's sometimes... there it is, sitemap. Yeah, empty. I'd say it's not there. It's sort of a missed opportunity to do something better, but not absolutely required. And the footer has links to other websites. Well, it has links to all these websites and to all the social channels. Let's see how this link is coded. href link. Yeah, it's a follow link coded properly. Now, you don't want this to be unintentional. They are sort of building authority throughout their brands, because I'm pretty sure that if you go to any of these other brands, they'll also have links back to this website and all the other ones. So they're sort of connecting them all together. So it's part of the strategy. It's something intentional. It's not like that showed up there and they weren't aware of what they were doing, you see? So yeah, they're all there. From that point of view, that's it. So that's okay, meaning when you have links to other domains on the website that are unintentional, that's when I start getting a little bit worried. If it's completely intentional, that's sort of okay. Okay, and then finally these social media. Let's check quickly these links to see if they are follow links or no follow links. What I would do is I would make them no follow, just in case. Like we're not quite sure if the follow, no follow attribute is being respected or not by Google, but historically what you've done is, if you don't want to give authority back to these websites, why would you want to give more authority to Facebook or something like that? You just make these a no follow link. It's a very quick fix. something that you can easily do. You wouldn't do that for these ones because what you're actually trying to do is spread the authority within your brands. So from that point of view, these ones are fine to be like that. But yeah, this is the footer check.